أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول. We praise Allah, we glorify Him, and we thank Him, and we extend our gratitude to Him for all the favors that He bestowed upon us. And we send our darood and salam on our beloved Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. My dear respected brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this Jumu'ah, this blessed day of the week. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and our families and all our deceased relatives. Today we pray for our dear departed brother Abdul Salim from the Queen Village area who passed away on Tuesday. Someone who I know all the way back from Guyana. He served as a minister of the government. May Allah bless him and may Allah make it easy for him, inshallah. Today we take the opportunity to pray for our former Imam, Imam Mohamed Shaffieq. May Allah bless him and may Allah continue to grant him ease in now his descending years, inshallah. He has served us very well, and today I want to take a moment to acknowledge his work and said, inshallah, to make dua for him, inshallah. I want to take the opportunity to welcome here today the brother Amirul Hussain. He is a brother of Uncle Mohammed. Brother Amirul served with us on the executive board prior to him going to Florida. Uncle Amirul, welcome. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless your parents who taught you well. And as I always say, we are very pleased and happy to have your brother here, Uncle Mohammed, who has been of tremendous help and guidance and comfort and generosity and kindness and all the good attitudes, inshallah. So may Allah bless Uncle Amirul and his, all the other members of the family who were here for a special occasion, inshallah. Our khatib for today is no other than our distinguished brother, Imam Dr. Shaffieq Chace. In welcoming him today, I want to personally thank him. We have appointed Dr. Chace, as most of you know, Masjid Ar-Rahman will embark on what is considered their first Umrah trip, something historic for us, something that we wanted to do for the last few years. And inshallah, we will embark on our first trip. We will be leaving on Wednesday. A number of people from the Masjid, the head of the Sisters Group, a number of executives are going, inshallah, and we do wish them well. I understand my friend Tali is going on the same date with a different group, but inshallah we'll meet up there. So again, I want to all those who are going, may Allah accept your Umrah. May Allah cause it to be a blessed and rewarding Umrah, inshallah. As I said, we want to thank Dr. Shaffieq for assuming this leadership role himself and Brother Shamir Ibrahim. So again, words are not enough to say thank you to Dr. Shaffieq, who will be leading this group, inshallah. And we are hoping that this will be the first of many groups to come. Today, our dua continue to be with our brothers and sisters in Palestine and all over the world, those who are suffering. We ask God to intervene and to make it easy for all of us. Allow me to extend a very cordial welcome to this house of God, to Mr. Bill Dagger. He's from the Westchester County, a Christian by faith. He is a great friend of Imam Dr. Shaffieq. Mr. Bill, welcome and thank you for coming. And inshallah, we'll hear from him for a minute or two after the prayer. Please don't leave. So again, we welcome Bill here. As I said, he's a good friend of Dr. Shaffieq. He's of the Christian faith. He wanted to come, as he has done on other occasions and other masjids, to observe what we do and how we do it. So welcome and thank you very much for coming. Lastly, Brother Shaffieq will spend a minute on this. We do have an overcrowded situation in Ramadan and in the summer months. And as you can clearly see, we are taking the initiative of building some additional space for the Ramadan that's coming and for the summer months. That project is going to cost us about $25,000. Inshallah, we don't want to take the money from the masjid. We are asking everyone to give something perhaps next week or the following week towards the project that's going on between us and the railroad project here. So inshallah, before you leave, you can have a look at it again. Welcome and thanks to all of you. Assalamu alaikum.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله قولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وإن خير الهدي هدي محمد مصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد يا أيها المسلمين يا عباد الله, all thanks and praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, we glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we seek His mercy, His blessings, and we beg for His forgiveness. I testify to the absolute fact that there is no deity, no one worthy of any deification except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for He is indeed alone and has no partners, and whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, none can lead astray, and whomsoever He left astray, none can provide guidance to. And I further attest to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is indeed the last and final messenger. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. He was sent as a mercy, as a compassion, as a benefactor, as an intercessor to all of creation في يوم القيامة, until the day of requital, the day of accountability. يا أيها المسلمين يا عباد الله, قال الله تعالى في كتاب الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تدليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسول الله الكريم. My dear beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, there is an invasion that's happening in Mecca, not Aqsa. And this invasion is happening because on the premise of a plan, a plot that is a hidden plan and plot. It is hidden to what the intention is. And this invasion is happening 50 years. I'm not talking about Aqsa. I'm talking about Mecca. This invasion is happening 50 days before the birth of the greatest of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this Surah Al-Fil is a comfort 40 plus years after the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Perhaps on those days that we are living in today, a surah of comfort for one people and a surah of warning to the oppressors. Now, this incident of this invasion of Mecca to destroy Mecca, not Aqsa. Now we're dealing with the destruction of Aqsa, but there was a point of time in history where it became a reference point for the calendar of the Arabs, that they will refer to that point 5 years after Al-Fil, this incident. And what is this incident? Yemen, there was a king who forced the people to accept the fate of the king or be burned to death. Hence, you could cite that as the first Holocaust. Holocaust comes from the two words Holocaustus, mean complete burning. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirms that in Surah Al-Buruj, where he referenced the people of the ditch. This king were forcing the Christians, either you renege your faith or you take the fate of the state. I'm not going to go into what was the fate of that state at that time, but they were forced, the Christians who were upright people, who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who believe in God, who believe in all the prophets, who believe in Isa alayhi salam, who believe in the Injil, the book was revealed to them. They were forced to renege their faith, or death, or exile. This persecution took place. One of the men from among the Yemenites, they left and they went to the Roman Empire to seek help. The Roman Caesar says, we're too far away to send help to Yemen. We will go to the Ethiopian, Habashi. This is the grandfather of the Habashi that Rasulullah will send the first Hijri to Ethiopia that will meet later on in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they sent an army from Habashi, from Ethiopia, to come to Yemen, led by a general called by Dunawas, was the king of Yemen, who were perpetrating these crimes against the Christians. Abraham al-Ashram was the general that was sent by the Ethiopian king with an army to go and take care of this matter in Yemen. So he came and he overthrew the king Dunawas. We know in history there are two kings that died by drowning. He is one of them, and the most famous of the two is Pharaoh. Dunawas died by drowning. Abraham al-Ashram took over the power of Yemen. Now, there was a fight for who will lead Yemen, who will be the next ruler of Yemen. So there was a fight between Abraham and another general called Ar-Rahman. They went into a duel, and Abraham won, and he became the ruler of Yemen. So he thought that, this place that's called Mecca, this is the center of trading. This is the center of the pilgrimage of all the people that comes there. They worship all these gods. There are 360 gods in the Kaaba at that time. Lat and Uzzat, the god of the Taif and the god of the Syria and Yemen, they're all hosts there. And the people would come and they would make the pilgrimage and they would trade. That was the economic center of that area. So Abraham thought, how about if I build a center in Yemen? How about if I build another center and change the economic hub from Mecca to Yemen in honor of the Habashi king who have sent this army to dethrone Dunawas. So he built something called the Khulais, a big place, huge center. Some of the Quraysh figured out what was his intention, and they went and they desecrated the building. They desecrated the building. So Abraham Ashram says that by desecration of this building is justification for me to go into Mecca and obliterate everyone in Mecca, and including the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By just destroying a few wood or do some, desecration within the building, I can go there and apply collective punishment, destroy everything. He gets an opportunity to once and for all to actually destroy everything, to move the economic center now to Yemen. So he seeks help from the Roman Empire. Again, the Roman Empire sent one of the most powerful military at that time, 60,000 men, 12 elephants. The elephants were the tanks of that time. That was the cutting edge technology to go and destroy, trampede, and desecrate a place. And he's coming into Mecca. Abraham is coming with his army to destroy the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is revealing this surah to Rasulullah. As if 40 years now, Rasulullah is 40 plus, this incident happened before the birth of Rasulullah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Rasulullah, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. Didn't you see, O Muhammad? Now, how can Rasulullah saw that? He wasn't born yet. But the surah begins to create evocative, very imagery. Didn't you see? If I say to you, did you see what's happening? You know immediately what's happening. You wouldn't say that, oh, there's, poverty in Grand Central Station, or, there's an epidemic of opium in the south. You wouldn't say that. You know what is the order of the day, what's happening in Palestine. You know that's the order of the day. So that becomes your order. Didn't you see, Ya Rasulullah, before your birth, this mighty army that came to destroy this house? Before your birth, Rasulullah, giving comfort to all of us today. This surah is a surah of comfort to us. That we need comfort, don't we? This ummah needs comfort. It's a surah of comfort to us. That did you see? Don't worry, Ya Rasulullah. How I destroyed this powerful army that coming to destroy this house and destroy 10,000 inhabitants. It's interesting. If you look at Queens, the county that we're in now, it's 187 square miles. It's about 46 square miles more than Gaza. But the population in Queens is almost identical in Gaza. It's 2.4 million people in Queens and 2.3 million people in Gaza. If you look at Gaza, the shape of Gaza is like from here to your wrist, if you look at Gaza on the map. This is bordering Egypt, which is in the longest portion, which is 7.5 miles. The entire Gaza is 25 miles. Think about in Queens what's happening. Imagine with all those bombardment in Queens that's happening. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that don't worry, Ya Rasulullah. Put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you hear, that's the echoing cry. That we as Muslims, we should never ever be in a position to say, to hurt someone innocent. That is not our creed. And you can see this is echoing among these people. These children are crying over the dead body of their parents. And they're saying, I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that I want harm to the enemy. I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Rasulullah, alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashab. Did you see how I took care of this mighty army that was coming to obliterate this Mecca, to obliterate this house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? subhanahu wa ta'ala in the inhabitants. What's interesting, the language of the surah. It's only 5 ayats, 23 words. But it's one of the most, some of the scholars are saying that this is the surah we should recite in our salah as often now in these days. It's a surah of comfort to us and a warning to the oppressor and to the aggressor. In what sense? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka. Fa'ala is what I did. He didn't use the word amala. You see, amala, amal is what we do. We do amal, action. For you to do something, what? It takes effort for you to do it. It took you effort to take a shower, to come here, get in your car, drive to the masjid. It took effort. But for Allah to come to the masjid, there's no effort. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create the entire humanity, kun fayakun, there's no effort. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala. That fa'ala, it requires no effort of Allah to destroy this army that was coming to destroy this house and these people. Fa'ala. But what he says next is really profound in the surah. He says, Rabbuka. As if at that moment, I am only the Lord of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That I am your Lord, Ya Rasulullah. I am your Lord. He says, he didn't say Allah. He says, Rabbuka, the Lord of Muhammad. This ta is specifically, he's talking to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I am protecting this house. I protected this house before your birth, not because of the Quraysh. No, it wasn't because of Quraysh. It has nothing to do with Quraysh. And Allah shows us in this surah that it had nothing to do with Quraysh. This entire surah is talking about protecting the Quraysh, but never Allah mentions the name Quraysh in this surah. Never Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the name Quraysh. That, Ya Rasulullah, I am protecting this house because of you. Ya Rasulullah, I'm protecting this house because this will be the birthplace of you, Ya Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, I'm protecting this house because the reason why this issue is so, penetrating in the hearts of every human being is that this is not a Syrian issue. It is not what happened in Yemen. It's not what's happening in Saudi Arabia or these countries. The reason that this is so affecting us, it's an Aqidah matter. That Rabbuka, this word Rabbuka puts this in an Aqidah issue. That he said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm protecting this house because this is the house I will take you from by night to the farthest house. Subhanallah. أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى. It's an Aqidah issue. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ya Rasulullah, Rabbuka, I'm the Lord of you, Ya Rasulullah. I'm here to give comfort to you. And by default, He's comfort to all of us. Allah is comfort to every human being, despite whether you accept Him or you reject Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am protecting this house because this is the house that will be the symbol of Tawheed, that there's no God but one God. Brother Nazar just mentioned that we're going for the Umrah. One of the defining factors that when we go for the Umrah is that everything we do in Islam, we begin on the right side, isn't it? We eat with the right hand. When we enter into the masjid, we enter with the right foot. We write with the right hand. But when we go there, we start from the left side. We start from Hajratul Aswad, the starting point of where a woman, we're giving credence and honor to a woman. The starting point of your tawaf is where a woman, Hajratul Aswad, the black stone, that this Hajar, what she was there, she's the woman that buried in that semicircle. We're beginning at that point, and then when we circumambulate, what we're doing, we're going towards the left to bring the heart to this house. Ya Allah, this house, Ya Rasulullah, Rabbuka, this is the house that is the symbol to show mankind that there's only one God. And all of us bring our heart towards that, the God. That foundation. That is why, not because of Quraysh. Why would I protect this house because of Quraysh when they have 360 idols in that house? Why would I protect this house because of Quraysh when they desecrate this house, when they go around this house naked, when they commit injustice in this house, when the first thing that Rasulullah did and he gave to humanity wasn't the Quran. The first thing the 20-year-old Muhammad did in Mecca is that he said, you must stand up for justice. You must stand up for justice, even if that justice is against your own tribesmen, your own Qurayshi, your own Hashemi. Stand up for justice. The Quran comes later on, and I mentioned this often on this member. The Quran came afterward, and this ayah is mentioned in Surah Nisa, the chapter of the woman, and this ayah was nominated as the ayah of the most just words of justice in human history. Not by me, by the faculty of Harvard Law School. And it's posted there on the entrance, not of the student, the entrance where every faculty has to enter into the school every day. That ayah is posted there. Surah Al-Nisa, Surah of the Woman, ayah 135. And this is the defining factor, that we never, you as a Muslim is not a Muslim if you fall to hurt someone. We stand up against hurting any human being. The Prophet ﷺ says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. If you're a Christian and you believe, if you're a Jew and you believe, if you're a Muslim and you believe, O you who believe in the Torah, if you believe in Al-Injil, the message is the same. The message is coming, Allah, Rasulullah ﷺ, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kunu qawwamina bil-qist, shuhada'a lillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, be a witness to justice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if that justice is against your own self. وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوِ الْوَالِدَيْنِ, if it's against your own parents. وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ, if it's against your own tribesman. If it's a Quraysh that does injustice, he must be brought to justice. If it's a Palestinian that does injustice, he must be brought to justice. If a Muslim did an injustice, he must be brought to justice. That's what the ayah is saying. And the ayah goes into more detail. That is why it was nominated as the only words of the most just, a statement of justice across the world in human history. And it's posted there, you can go and Google it. You know, when Musa alayhi salam, interestingly, when Musa was bringing the Bani Israel out of the tyranny of Pharaoh, and Musa is coming with the people of Bani Israel. And when the people of Bani Israel look behind them, it was the most powerful army at that time. The army of Pharaoh was right upon them. The army was upon them when they looked back and they said to Musa, Quran, they said to Musa, Ya Musa, we are sure that this is it for us. We are finished. Musa turned to them. When they looked in front of them, it was not the Mediterranean that is along the coast of Gaza. It was the Red Sea that was in front of them. Think about this. This mighty army is coming on Gaza, 3 miles in distance from the beginning of Gaza to the Mediterranean. 3 miles. If you look at the army, there's the most powerful army. Imagine power. When I was driving this morning, I was thinking about this. Imagine power. You need this kind of power. This is what you call yourself powerful, that you need this kind of power to kill children? Really? That we need this kind of power. This is what you call power? Military power to kill children? This is what power is? Here is what power is. Power is not in your military. Power is not in your wealth. Because you're Muslim, you have a lot of wealth. Power is not in your numbers. Because you're Muslim, you have 2 billion of you. And none of you can take a drop of water in Gaza. None of you. None of you, this ummah, 2 billion, with the major stakeholder in the wealth of this planet. None of you can take a drop of water for a thirsty child before they die in Gaza. None of you. Let me show you what Allah can show, what is power. When Musa, these same people, the Bani Israel, that was faced on one side, the most military might is behind them. And when they look in front of them, it is the sea. They said, this is it for us, Musa. Musa says, no. Kalla. No. Affirmative language. Musa is saying. As if I'm saying, absolutely not. Musa is saying to Bani Israel. The military and the sea. This is it. We're done with this. Kalla. Qala. Inna. Ma'iya. Rabbi sayahdi. Musa said, absolutely not, we're not finished. Indeed, verily, surely, inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdi. Allah is with me. Interestingly, Musa says. He didn't say Allah is with us. He said Allah is with me. This is the dua that we should recite. This is the dua that we recite, the dua of Musa leading Bani Israel out. Inna ma'iya rabbi. Allah is with you today. Allah is with every single child in Gaza. Allah is with every single mother in Gaza. Allah is with every single human being who the oppressor is coming on. Despite whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, if you're being oppressed, we must advise be with the oppressor. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Rasulullah, why should we be with the oppressor? We should stand up against the oppression and tell the oppressor what they're doing is wrong. What they're doing is wrong. Musa ﷺ is saying to them, Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Rasulullah, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Rabbuka, I'm your Lord, Ya Rasul. Don't worry. You see, you can't talk about this surah without talking about the next surah and the next surah. These three surahs has to go together. But by no means we can do this in 30 minutes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the first surah, Surah Al-Fil, is giving comfort to Rasulullah and warning to the oppressor. So the next surah is Surah what? Quraysh. Quraysh. It begins with Quraysh. Now it's all about Quraysh. Now Allah is saying that I stopped this mighty military to destroy you, Ya Quraysh. Li-ilafi Quraysh. For the love of you, Quraysh. For the honor of you, Quraysh. Ilafihim rihlat ash-shita'i was-sayf. That you're able to travel to Syria and Yemen and become a mighty power. Instead of you now become so wealthy, Ya Ummatu Rasulullah, Rabba hadha al-bayt. Worship the Lord of this house. I make you wealthy. I protect you when you are trembling from this mighty army coming. When fear, you are trembling, you are starving. I protect you and make you the wealthiest nation. This is for Quraysh then, and this for this Muslim Ummah today. We make you the wealthy nation. You're worried about your wealth now. You aren't worried about public, your public relations. You were Bedouins. You were Bedouins. You were shepherds barefoot walking in the desert, and Allah fed you. You worry about your billions now. That you should worship the Lord of this house. Rabba hadha al-bayt. And Allah speaks in the third person. Worship the heart of the Lord of that house. The next surah, Surah Al-Ma'un, how did Allah begin that? He says, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Yes, subhanAllah. See, the first battle of Islam began with fake news. Does that register you now? Fake news. This was in 7th century Makkah. Fake news. You know how the first battle began? After 30 years of persecution of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's no evidence. There's no evidence by the enemy, the rejecter of Rasulullah can say that he raised one finger against his persecutors. Not one. Not even a harsh word. If Abu Sufyan, when he go to the next king, he was thinking, I'm going to lie about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when he confronted the king and when he saw the king, he said, I couldn't lie. Because if you found out I lied as king, it would have been, fake news in Islam. It's very detested, fake news. That if you come with fake news and we found out you're a fake news carrier, you're done with. We don't want to hear anything from you anymore. Your credibility is done. But fake news, interestingly, that is what driving the narrative. And this is a prophecy of Rasulullah. Since the coming of the hour, the treacherous will be deemed trustworthy. And the trustworthy will be deemed treacherous. This is what we're seeing here today. But what's happening for the first time is that this fake news is losing its impact to control the narrative because of social media. But let me continue the surah and then we will link it with social media. What is the weapon of today? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Rasulullah, Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. Then in second ayah, he repeated Alam again. Did you see? Alam yaj'al. Yaj'al is to take something, to wait until you muster all your power. All your power, all your manpower, all your know-how, all your intelligence, work, bring it together, and then you're coming to launch this attack. Allah says at that moment he waited. You see, he could have stopped the Yemeni king when he went to the Roman Empire and tell Caesar, no, don't send weapons with him. Don't give him armor. He could have stopped it here. No, but he allowed the Caesar to send with the weapon, travel from Rome, come to Yemen, get all the elephants there, bring them in however they bring them, get all their might, they're ready now to unleash. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he waited until that moment to destroy, to change it. Yaj'al kaydahum. Qaeda is a secret plot. Qaeda is specifically a military plot. That I'm going to tell the world that I'm coming as a savior. I'm coming to change this regime change. But there's an ulterior motive that we don't know. And this is what the Yemeni king was coming with. He's coming and saying that these people destroy my building. But this is not the real purpose of coming to destroy this house. I want to move the economic center from Mecca to Yemen. This in 1916. What's interesting? You can go to the United Nations website and you can read this yourself. This that we see unfolding here today, it was happening. Inevitably, this was happening, going to happen because this ummah was asleep. See, in 1916, when something you have called the Balfour Declaration, when it came to declare that Palestine will be given to England, UK. In the European League, they made an agreement in the war where they used Sharif Hussein, one of the Muslim leaders among the Arabs, and they promised him that if you join with us to take out the Ottoman Empire, we will make Syria your capital, your place of this Arab nation. Why are they making this deal with him? The United Nations. They went to France and they said, no problem, France. In the Sykes-Picot Agreement, Mark Sykes and George Francois-Picot, an Englishman and a Frenchman came. You can go Google the Sykes-Picot Agreement. Why are they making this agreement with the Arab? They went to the France and said, listen, when this war is finished, we're going to give Syria to you. And when this war is finished, we're going to give southern Israel to the UK. And when this war is finished, we're going to give southern Iraq to the British. And when this war is finished, we're going to give Haifa, the port, right on the Mediterranean, to the British. It was decided. It was part of this United Nations. United Nations. And what's interesting too, you can go and look at Resolution 242. Resolution 242 by the United Nations is a call for ceasefire. This was in 1947. have to pass another resolution called Resolution 338 to implement Resolution 242, ceasefire. So these things have been happening over the years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَدْلِيلٍ. That فِي تَدْلِيلٍ, he take this plant and destroy it. أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَدْلِيلٍ وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. He used birds as the soldiers of Allah on that day. He used birds, he used the birds to send to destroy his mighty army. Birds. That was birds then. You can say the bird today that's using its Twitter. You know that little bird? It's social media. The information is power today. That is the weapon today. It is not in the weapons that we know. The most powerful weapon today is information. It's data. Some of the most powerful corporation on this planet is the one that who hoard more data, more information. Information is what changed the narrative. You can take information, fake news, and change the narrative. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he used birds on that day to destroy his mighty army. أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَدْلِيلٍ وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. And this surah going into very graphic detail how these birds were able to go to high altitude, create this distance to unleash these weapons that destroy this mighty army, destroy them completely. Birds. The surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and this surah is so rhythmic. You see, it says Tadleel, right? أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ Tadleel, Ababil, Sijil. And the last ayah, it changed in rhythm. Ka'asfin ma'kul. That he reduced them to ma'kul. You know what's ma'kul? Like if a cattle is grazing on hay. When the cattle eats the hay, the piece that falls in the corner of the mouth, it sometimes, because it's so brittle, it never even touches the ground. If it's a windy day, it just blows off. The birds destroy them. In Surah Al-Ma'un, the next surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Rasulullah, go tell them now. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. You see how they're lying? You see how mukazib. A mukazib is someone who knows the truth and spins it. Spins it for their own agenda. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Tell them they're the mukazib. And what? أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. They're lying about this deen, not about Islam. They're lying about accountability. The day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. You see, if you can do things that have no accountability, then you can do anything, right? If you're not accountable. And who's accountable? When the United Nations is passing one resolution to implement another resolution, when the United Nations in 1948 is going to send a mediator for peace, his name is Bernadotte, went there and he was assassinated. Who's accountable? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they're denying accountability, they're mukazib. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدْعُ الْيَتِيمِ. That if you deny accountability, you're going to take the most vulnerable in society, use them, abuse them, and throw them away. Who's the most vulnerable? The yatim, the orphans. Today, we're not seeing that we're using the yatim. We have been creating yatim. Orphans have been created by minute. Every second in this world, we have 4.2 births. Every second, there's 4.2 births. And within that same second, there's 1.8 deaths. Within the same second. So within the second, 4.2 child is born. Within the same second, 1.8 deaths is happening. And by the mercy of Allah, we have more people alive right now than all the people that ever died from the time of creation to now. That's Ar-Rahman. But not only that, what changed this formula? What changed this formula is when you go to Iraq and 2 million people is killed. It changes. Now it's not 1.8 deaths now. That changes. Right now, what's changing that formula is what's happening today. We're seeing the death, whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Sudan, whether it's in Afghanistan, whether it's in Palestine. That is what changes this ratio. That the ratio goes up every time these calamity happen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of the injustice wherever it is, because, you know, like one of the great civil rights leaders says, injustice, if you don't stand for injustice, injustice here is injustice everywhere. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the theme of Al-Quran al-Kareem is that we should be a nation of justice. We should be a nation of justice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this justice, even if this justice is against your own enemy, don't let that enmity of your justice, of that person who's the aggressor, cloud your reason for justice. So even if the killer is brought in, and we see this in America, right? If it's a jurisdiction where the media is driving the case, they're trying to take the case into somewhere where it's neutral, so the media doesn't affect the outcome of the case. The Quran speaks of that in 7th century Mecca. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide all of us. هو الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المحيي العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, help our brothers and sisters in all parts of the world where there's oppression. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free the oppressed from the oppressions of these tyrants. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liberate our brothers and sisters from this atrocity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our dua. My dear beloved brothers and sisters, like Brother Nazar mentioned, you know, when he mentioned this to me yesterday, that they're thinking of raising funds to build a shed there. They had a barbecue here in a couple of months ago, and I attended the barbecue. And the barbecue event was to raise funds to help the Masjid Abedin. And the brothers, they were barbecuing there, I forget how many hundred pounds of chicken, and the rain was pouring. They're barbecuing to raise money for another masjid while they don't have a shed there to do the barbecue. And we couldn't go out. They had to stop the barbecue. They wanted to show me the barbecue pit. So I was looking through the door. Alhamdulillah, you know, alhamdulillah, one of the unique things I see in this masjid, they always raise funds in this masjid to help other masjid, whether it's Afghan masjid or it's a Guyanese masjid or Bengali masjid. I've seen it many times. And they're asking for $25,000. I was thinking, we need 10 people for $10,000. 10 people, and right, $500. And we need 100 people for $50, and that will take care of it, inshallah ta'ala. So please, this is the time now to give. If you can't give today, please make intention, but make an intention to give something, whatever it is, $50, $20 for this cause. Because I think one of the reasons behind it too, if we have a janazah, and we have a spillover in the janazah, you can use that area there also. So it's a multi-use area. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the brothers who are working on this effort. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it successful. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our intention sincere. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت وإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. عباد الله, before you leave, the Asr Salah comes in 15 minutes after the Jumu'ah, I think 2:16. So if you want to stay back for the Asr Salah, we can pray the Asr Salah and we can make dua, inshallah ta'ala, together, a dua al-Jama'ah for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. Please, if you can, you have the time, please stay back. Please move forward and make room for your brothers in the back.